There are two ways to represent information. One is to use alphanumeric data in cells organized in rows and columns. But there is a more dynamic way to represent the relationship between these entries. Indeed, color, motion, dimension, and sound make a big difference in the way you represent information, whether it's a horse race or a spreadsheet. Today, we'll show you the new generation of dynamic spreadsheet software on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Intel, the world's leading manufacturer of microprocessors. Intel, the computer inside.
Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet, and with me today is Craig Stinson, contributing editor for PC Magazine. And Craig is author of this cover story in PC Magazine on the new era in spreadsheets, with hot-looking products like Quattro Pro for Windows, Excel, 123 for Windows, and so on. Here is the original 123 I have up here, and it just looks so ancient right now. You know, the old slash commands, and you know, we're familiar with using this kind of stuff, but it looks just years and years and years ago. Why isn't this not good enough anymore? Why do we need the new era in spreadsheets?
Well, actually, this was hot stuff in its day.
Yes.
It did graphs, it did database sorting and data queries, and the menu commands were spelled out words and so on. But it only worked with one file at a time. Yeah. It only gave you two dimensions, rows and columns. If you needed a third dimension or a fourth dimension, you opened new files. In the real world, people need to work with data from multiple sources. They need to look at alternative values, best and worst cases, and so on. So that's one reason. The graphs were pretty limited,
right.
And we've gone a long way in graphing technology since then. The database commands didn't let you tap into external data sources. The macro programming language was great, but it wasn't anything like a true programming language. And so the programs now have programming languages that really let you develop robust applications.
Okay, Craig, we are going to see the newest of the new today. In fact, two new spreadsheets that came out after this article in PC Magazine, Improv from Lotus and CA Compete from Computer Associates. We'll also look at the new Quattro Pro for Windows and Excel version 4.0. Now, it's no secret that today's spreadsheet programs are loaded with features that many users never get to use because they don't have time to figure it out. So who do you call? Spreadsheet busters, also known as the Don Barnes Excel team.
A spreadsheet's really just an erector set. When you look at it to begin with, it's a blank grid, there's nothing to it. Everybody, when they pull a spreadsheet out of a box, has to customize it to a certain extent just to get it to do anything. So we've taken it to a very high degree of customization.
Voice information system manufacturer Octel needed a way to cost justify its products to both potential and existing clients. They were using Excel as it is, off the shelf, but company executives decided they needed to get more out of their spreadsheet. They called in the Don Barnes Excel team, and the result was the creation of a software product called Net Worth.
This was a real nice tweak to an already existing application that, as you say, is off the shelf, but a little bit of expertise added here and there, and suddenly you've got a very elegant product.
Net Worth has proved to be extremely popular with Octel's current clients, who are able to enter in data specific to their company and then immediately receive a report on the cost-benefit of using Octel's products, which include voicemail, fax call, and other voice information systems. Octel account executives also use Net Worth to demonstrate to future clients what the potential hard and soft dollar savings are. Don Barnes used the familiar Excel interface as a foundation, then built a custom application that allows users to get the information they need without having to know a lot about where that information is stored within the spreadsheet. He says many users are unaware of the nearly limitless possibilities for software customization.
People right now have no idea that you can take these pieces of software and totally customize. And because you're taking something that's already in place, debugged, which is a big deal if you're going to put something on hundreds of desktops, you're starting from a point that would take years to develop on its own. Excel's engine is already there for us to use. We use pieces of it and then combine some of our own code and our own ideas to enhance it or set it up for someone's specific needs. But in the future, these products will be the building blocks for complete custom applications all over the world.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle Stelson.
If you think Improv is the name of a comedy club in San Francisco, you're only partly right. It's also the name of the newest spreadsheet product from Lotus. And just as 123 evolved into Improv, Computer Associates has replaced its old SuperCalc with a brand new spreadsheet program called CA Compete. Here to show us how they work are John O'Loughlin from Lotus Development and also with us Sohail Siddiqui from Computer Associates. Sohail, we're saying this is a show about spreadsheets, but I guess the programs we're about to look at are really more than spreadsheets. It's just not an accurate description anymore, is it?
That is correct, Stewart. The product we're looking at is more of a financial analysis tool, extends the spreadsheet metaphor into new areas where you can actually represent your business data in actual terms. And basically what I can show you here is I have a four-dimensional spreadsheet here that has my financials across time, and my third dimension is divisions, which has the game, stalls, and athletic care division. And these are basically product lines and with different pages on it, and then I have different versions.
Fourth dimension there.
That's a fourth dimension. And so basically the product allows you to set up to 12 dimensions. You can. The other advantage of this product is that you can actually use English language terms rather than using cryptic cell referencing to define your formulas. For example, cost of goods sold is material plus production. And if you wanted to cut and copy this formula across all pages, you would just click on the global icon and then define the scope of this formula, select OK, and it gets copied across.
So you're not stuck with cells which just happen to be adjacent to each other in the old-fashioned model.
That's correct, exactly. Now, 6 months down the road, you want to go in and analyze this model again. You just go in and see how these formulas are created. You just double-click on one of these formulas, and up comes a tool that we have, which is an audit trail tool, and it shows you in English language terms how this formula was described.
How do I shift those dimensions you were showing me before? And if I want to, represent two other dimensions?
Basically, let me show you an example. If I wanted to see the sales of my 1992 year for all the divisions, I would click on this, drag this icon up and drop it on top of the dimensions, and basically I have reoriented my model to show the new data. So it is very flexible in that manner. Not only can you do that, but if you wanted to, let's say, graph this data, you'd select the data, click on the graph icon, and then draw on your workspace. And up comes a graph. And this graph, you can double-click, and it becomes its own window. You can annotate it and add things to it. You close it out. You can create as many graphs as you want in this model. You can move it around and do all the things you want to do.
That's pretty neat. All right, John, let's turn to Improv for Windows now. Now, Lotus already has a spreadsheet program out there called 123 for Windows, or the other versions of 123. Why Improv? How does this positioned against 123?
Well, Improv is the first dynamic spreadsheet for Windows. It's a reinvention of the spreadsheet. You'll find that it's a dramatically different approach to spreadsheets as compared to traditional cell-based spreadsheets like 123.
Okay, what do you mean by dynamic and different approach to a spreadsheet?
Well, the interaction is very different, and why don't I show you this? There's actually some nice features of Improv that make it dynamic. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. First thing that you'll find is there are common things like columns and rows, individual cell addresses. What you find that's different with Improv is that there's not that outer boundary where it has cell references.
ABCs 1, 2, 3.
That's correct. Well, with Improv, instead of this being D5, this would actually be named Snowboards Gross Margin Quarter 2 in 1993.
And how do I know that? I mean, how would I refer to a cell then?
Cells are always referenced in their English terms. One of the nice things that buys you is the ability to not only rearrange a spreadsheet instantly because you're not tied to cell addresses, but also now you can write formulas in business terms.
All right, how would I rearrange, for example?
Well, let's take a look at this spreadsheet model here where we've broken out cost of goods by different products down the left side. This might be great for what you'd like to analyze, but let's say management wanted to see it broken out by line items. Well, with Improv, we can pick up a product tile, move that to the right side. You'll notice that the spreadsheet instantly rearranges. Now we have line items broken out by different products. Similarly, here at the top, if we wanted to compare quarters year to year, 93 to 94, pick up the year tile, move that below quarter. And now you'll see Q1, you can make that comparison. Really nice tools to spot trends and gain insights. Again, you can move this into now the third dimension where we can compare 93 to 94. And with Improv, you really have limitless ways to rearrange a spreadsheet. So that's dynamic views. The second thing that I wanted to show you was general English formulas. And with Improv, we've actually separated our data here on the top from our formulas in the bottom. As you can see in the first formula here, cost of goods equals revenue times 45%, written in business terms.
And that formula is applied to the cells that are in gray, is that it?
That's correct. And that's another nice thing is one formula can apply to many cells, a more simplistic approach. If taking a look at all 6 of these formulas, you'll notice that 6 formulas are driving well over 100 different cells. The other nice thing about these formulas is we can expand on this spreadsheet, and let's say we wanted to add a new product line, let's call that skis. Notice how the formulas automatically apply. Now if we key in data, you'll notice how it simply recalculates. Okay, so the ability to expand and modify a spreadsheet is much easier.
What else?
Just to finish up, one of the other nice things is we have some very nice presentation tools to convey your findings.
Okay, what's the price then on Improv?
Improv is suggested retail price is $4.95 in line with other spreadsheet products.
And CA Compete?
CA Compete is also priced at $4.95.
It's the official spreadsheet price right now, I guess,
Absolutely.
for everybody. What about other platforms? These are both running in Windows. Any plans to have an Improv or Compete running on the Mac, for example?
Well, right now we have Improv running on Next computers and in the Windows environment. Certainly we'll explore other platforms over time.
But right now it's a Windows product.
That's
and
correct.
Compete?
For Compete, we already have it running under the OS2 platform, and we plan to port it to the Unix platform as well under Motif and other areas. So.
John, lastly, I want to understand, is Improv the next generation of 1, 2, 3, or are these lateral parallel products?
Parallel products. We believe that Improv has some really nice tools for certain applications, and our strategy is different tools for different tasks.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much. All right, regular spreadsheet programs are great if you know why A and B equals C, but suppose you don't know the formula for C. Then you need a different kind of spreadsheet program, one that can invent the formula. One such program is BrainCell from a company called Promised Land Technologies.
In a small storefront office in New Haven, Connecticut, 5 employees at Promised Land Technologies are working on one of the most popular and powerful spreadsheet add-in products. It's called BrainCell. It can sift data and create formulas where none existed before. These formulas lead to informed predictions on when to buy and sell stocks, or they can tell a medical researcher which trauma patients will need intensive follow-up care. BrainCell's technology uses a unique algorithm called back percolation, which according to BrainCell inventor Murray Ruggiero, trains faster and works better than the back propagation algorithm found in other neural net programs.
A trading system developed with PERC will probably make between 15 and 30% more profit than one developed with even the best commercial backprops.
And because BrainCell is embedded in 2 of the top spreadsheet products on the market, Excel and Lotus 123 for Windows, the learning curve is very fast. This means that what used to be a highly technical system is easily accessible to anyone who knows their way around a spreadsheet.
The reason that the spreadsheet environment is so valuable is, first of all, let's say you use Lotus. You know if you've done any sort of automation, macros, you know the Lotus macro language. So if I added 5 commands or 6 commands that look like the syntax for Lotus, it wouldn't be too hard for you to learn.
What a neural network does is sift through all of the data available in your spreadsheet, and then based on that data, the software writes a formula for your scenario. For example, BrainCell can tell a bank manager how many loan customers are likely to default this year, and it can also suggest who is a good loan risk.
This person makes $5,000 a month with $2,400 a month in expenses, and he's a loan risk of 2, and we wouldn't give him a loan because his risk is too low. And there's a formula here that's dependent on the value of the neural net output. So let's say all of a sudden this guy has hit the lottery. So now he's getting his nice check for $10,000 a month. And let's see what happens. Now he's a loan risk 5, and we give him money. The formulas all update. We replace formulas in the spreadsheet with this neural net that adjusts And recalc's just like a formula.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle Stelson.
If Lotus 123 used to be the standard for spreadsheet programs, that honor has probably shifted to Microsoft's Excel. But challenging Excel now is the latest entry from Borland, Quattro Pro for Windows. Here to show us both programs are Dan Williams of Microsoft and Song Wang of Borland. Dan, in the first part of the show, we looked at things like Improv and Compete, which are like next-generation spreadsheet programs, redefining what a spreadsheet is. You've kind of done the same thing with Excel compared to the older model of spreadsheets. What are some of the features of Excel that have made it, in fact, so successful?
Stuart, let's start with some ease of use. Here are some of the innovations we've introduced to make everyday tasks really easy. We have autofill, which intelligently extends or copies worksheet information. We have drag and drop. Here I'm copying a column heading. Auto-sum makes it easy to enter sum formulas in a worksheet. Oh, I noticed that let me just move that cell there. Okay. Let's use shortcut menus to format some numbers.
Where'd that come from?
I just clicked the right mouse button to bring up the shortcut menu. And finally, to format worksheets quickly, we have the auto format tool on the toolbar. I'll just click that, and the most recently used auto format is applied to my worksheet. There are a bunch of other auto formats available. Next, let's create a chart using the Chart Wizard tool on the toolbar. I'll click that once and draw my chart where I want it in the worksheet. Now, the Chart Wizard is like a personal assistant that walks me through the process of creating a chart. The first question is, what cells do I want to chart? And these are my cells. Next is, what kind of chart would I like? And I'll pick this 3D column chart here. Within the Chart Wizard, I can rearrange the way the data is organized and classified. I can choose to add a legend or not, and add a chart title. Now my chart's on the worksheet. Now I can double click and it comes up in its own window. And through direct manipulation, I can just grab this chart with the mouse and rotate it to a different perspective. So those are some of the basic worksheet things we have. Now let's take a look at Scenario Manager.
Yeah, right.
Here's a very typical worksheet model. By the way, about 80% of Excel users do what-if analysis. And here's a typical model where this is the business model that I care about. Up here are my changing conditions that affect my business. Now,
okay, like inflation, growth, interest rate, taxes.
Exactly. Those are going to affect my future income. Now, those changing conditions together are a scenario. And Microsoft Excel with Scenario Manager makes it easy to manage multiple scenarios. If I want to see the best case scenario for the future, I can show that in the worksheet. If I'd like to see all of these scenarios together, I can click the Summary button. And Excel creates a report sheet where I can see my best, worst, and most likely cases, plus the results that I care about. And we have a few more tricks in this worksheet. If we scroll to the right, what I have here is a chart with some graphic objects where I can graphically enter another scenario. I can just drag these chart points.
So just vary the inflation rate, the growth rate, et cetera, by pulling the graphs.
And don't forget taxes. Got stuck here.
Okay.
Taxes going up next year. Now, after I've graphically entered that scenario, I can just click the Add Scenario button, and we'll call this New. And I've added a new scenario to my sheet. This next scenario button allows me to scroll between the scenarios. So that's about it.
That's great. All right, let's turn to you, Song, and Quattro Pro for Windows. You guys at Borland are sort of the new guys on the block in the spreadsheet wars for Windows here. What are the main features that Quattro Pro brings to the table here?
Well, Stuart, we give you better ways to handle three-dimensional notebooks in the form of spreadsheet notebooks, where it's the different pages, notebooks in single file. We give you presentation graphics, which are second to none, and also UI Builder, which is the same one we use to create Quattro.
All right, let's start out by taking a look then, Song. What do you show us first?
Here you see on the screen a spreadsheet notebook. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see there's actually little tabs here with names. What you're going to find is just like the notebooks you use every day, this is organized exactly the same.
Okay, so those tabs pull up separate sheets, is that
right? There's 256 sheets in a single file. Now, the neat thing about this is we give you a lot of ways to work with these notebook pads. For instance, let's see right here I want to put a total for all my 3 sales figures there. I hit the right mouse button, which is our object inspector over at Borland, and I give it a name. Let me just call it total here. Now, in order to make that information, all I have to do is grab all this information here, extend my selection by clicking on the tab, and then click on my sum button. And it'll actually create a formula that goes through all the sheets. Now, if I want to make the sheets all look better, I can put it in group mode. You'll see a little blue line there that underlines all the 4 sheets that are in my group. Now I can highlight this information here, and using something we call speed format, we can get a list of all the different formats that are currently in Quattro Pro. You pick the one you like. Let's say I like this Beethoven one. We use composers. A little bit fun there. And then you can see here it's taking effect in every single sheet, not just the one I'm working on. So we give you a lot of different ways to work with multiple sheets. Now, we have graphics are second to none, you heard me mention. Well, we can just highlight information here and click on the graphic icon on our speed bar. You drag a range where you want it to appear, and the graph will appear. Now, as usual, you can double-click, and then you can right-click anywhere in the graph as well. So if I right-click here, you'll see I get the graph types. I'm going to choose a 3D type here. And I can even do things like change the view and the rotations of the graph. As a matter of fact, I can change this perspective, make it look like it's starting real close and going real far away. See? I can apply that. Now, once I get all the graphs that I like, at the very, very last page of our spreadsheet is the graph page. It has all the graphs that we have here. What I can do is I can create those slideshows and put graphs inside my slideshows. If I double-click on the show itself, you'll see a list of all a little thumbnail sketch, basically, of all the graphs that are in that show. If I want to put another graph in, you just grab it and just drop it in the show. And double-click, you'll see that it's now been put in the show. We can also apply different effects as well. I'm just going to run this show here, and you can see that all those effects actually occur. So there's my little fade there. There's my dissolve. So it's very, very quick to get live information from your spreadsheet and put it all into a slideshow. But beyond that, we also give you the ability to do something we call application building. So right here in this page, you'll see I have a button here, and it's called Vary. If I click on that button, it'll give me a dialog here that I can change. I just click in there, and you'll notice it automatically live linked to the graph in the spreadsheet itself. And all that, again, was created with something we call the UI Builder. And you can see that all the tools for the UI Builder are built right into the product itself.
All right, that's pretty good. Now let me ask you, how about on the Macintosh? What's happening with Quattro Pro for Windows on the Mac? Is there going to be one?
Well, currently we are not announcing anything on the Macintosh. We're always exploring new platforms though.
Okay. And Excel, of course.
Yeah, pretty much everything you saw today, Stuart, works the same on the Macintosh.
All right, let me ask you, Sung, you guys at Borland always talk about object-oriented technology and the big thing that you program with objects. What does that really mean? What is the significance in the development using object-oriented?
Well, in layman's terms, object-oriented programming is just more strict methods of how to develop. That way people can interchange information easier. What it basically means is to make components which are independent in themselves but can share with other components, so you can plug them together. Just like in hardware where you have ICs that you can plug and share amongst different pieces of hardware, we're thinking about objects you can plug in different pieces of software. And you'll actually see those different objects in these products. For instance, the database desktop, which is part of Paradox for Windows, is in Quattro as well.
Okay, real quick, prices on these products, Excel?
$4.95.
Standard price?
Going rate for spreadsheets.
Man, I tell you, there's got to be something going on. You guys are talking to each other. All right, as usual, very difficult to pick, but great products. Thanks very much. All right, that's our look at the new era in spreadsheets. Stay tuned now for this week's computer news on Random Access.
In the Random Access file this week, Microsoft announced new software called Microsoft at Work. The Office software system will connect computers, phones, copiers, fax machines, and printers so they can circulate documents from one to the other electronically.
A very new thing for us to move outside the PC onto the other equipment. We've always been thinking a lot about how you create documents and how they move around in the office. And now we're actually creating the approach that will make that more efficient.
Casio and Tandy have teamed up to introduce the Zoomer PDA. The Zoomer uses the GEOS operating system. Several versions will be released this fall, all priced well under $1,000. Other companies joining forces include Silicon Graphics and Time Warner. The two announced plans for a full-service interactive digital cable television network prototype by the end of the year. Next up, Paul Schindler of Windows Magazine, courtesy of CMP Publications.
Today, we're going to look at a DOS package that ought to interest anyone who really cares a lot, professionally, about the weather. The product is Weather Brief. It turns your telephone into the Weather Channel. Of course, the information isn't free. It costs between 15 and 40 cents a minute. Here's a sample of the things you can get. Regional weather reports, a city forecast, our example is Houston, the National Weather Summary, a U.S. radar map within the last hour, a satellite weather picture, the chance of precipitation, the high temperatures, drought conditions, the isobar map, barometric pressure, and high-resolution radar. It's like having a weatherman in your own home or office, but better because you get the weather data you want when you want it. Weather Brief is $53 from WeatherBank in Salt Lake City. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Paul Schindler.
The best-selling utility programs this week include Microsoft DOS 6.0 and Windows 3.1 on the PC. Apple's System 7.1 Personal Upgrade Kit is #1 on the Mac side. How can you get something for nothing? Computer Associates is shipping free copies of its personal finance software to the first 1 million people who call 800-FREE-MONEY. Kiplinger's CA Simply Money won't make you money, but it will help you keep track of what you have. It's available for Windows 3.1 users. And finally, the dinosaur craze has come to the computer. If you love Jurassic Park, look for Arts and Letters Jurassic Art. It's a complete drawing program and online database on dinos. That's it for this week's Computer Chronicles. I'm Janelle Stelson.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Intel, the world's leading manufacturer of microprocessors. Intel, the computer inside.
Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy.